Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Solari. I'm regional editor with Shaw Media, including the Kane County Chronicle. I'm here with our St. Charles reporter, David Petesch, and St. Charles mayoral candidates, Lora Vitek and Clint Hull. We're going to do a candidate forum here, ask them some questions for the upcoming election. Lora, why don't you go first? Why don't you give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Sure. I'm Lora Vitek. I've lived in St. Charles for about 15 years now. I chose to move here to raise my children. I have an amazing significant other that's pretty much been doing all of this with me, all events, all activities. And between the two of us, we have 5 children. I have a full-time job. I have a master's of business administration and a master's of management, nearly 25 years experience in the business and not-for-profit sector. So I'm proud of how I can bring the business components into this role. I've been doing something in municipal government, starting as a youth commissioner, moving on to 4 years as an alderperson, and I've been the city of St. Charles mayor for 4 years. Over 9 years experience in municipal government. And what I've continued to say in forums is that experience in municipal government is absolutely integral to this role. In my administration over the last 4 years, we've been moving St. Charles forward, very successful. I'm very proud of my staff and my council members, and we have never been in a better place here in the city of St. Charles.
Great. Thank you. Clint, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks a lot, Kevin. So Clint Hull, 57 years old and born and raised here. Live with my wife, who we have been married for 32 years, and we have 4 kids, all D303 grads. I recently retired after a career as a judge. My background is I graduated from law school in 1993, worked for the Kane County State's Attorney's Office for the most part over 16 years, ended up as the first assistant, which is the highest non-elected position, worked directly with the St. Charles Police Department during that time. Then in 2009, I became a judge and served as a judge until I retired in 2024, served as chief judge from 2019 to 2023. And during that time, I was, as chief judge, I was the administrator of the Kane County court system, serving 550,000 residents, working with 31 municipalities, working with 13 elected officials, other judges, and the county board. So experience that I bring to this position. Also was on the St. Charles Park Board for 8 years, served 2 years as president. And again, in that taxing agency, worked with 6 other elected park board commissioners to serve our public. Um, you know, one of the things that I think is really important to understand is obviously every 4 years, the citizens of St. Charles have a chance to elect who's going to be their leader the next 4 years. When you look at the experience that I bring, my ability to bring people together, and the passion I have for the city, I think I'm the best candidate for the job. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Clint. As we go through the questions, we'll alternate who answers first to keep it fair. There's really no other way to do that. Clint, you'll answer first on this one.
Sounds good.
And the same question to both you and Lora. What initially drew you to public service?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that. I mean, when I graduated from law school in 1993, most of my colleagues took a track where they went into private practice. That was where you made the most money, and so that's the place that most people went. For me, my mom was a school teacher. She taught at St. Charles High School, serving the public. My dad worked for St. Charles Kitchens, but he was a Kiwanian, and public service was just a huge piece of the whole family life. My sister and I were taught at a really early age that we were blessed to live in St. Charles and that we would want to give back to St. Charles. And so, growing up and doing that and going to law school, it just serving the public was just something that I always thought was really, really important. And so, when I had a chance to decide what career path to take, I became a prosecutor at the Kane County State's Attorney's Office, served the public, working side by side with the police to protect our community. And that was just what's always driven me. It's always made me happy. It's always been something where I wanted to give back and continue to do so. And so there were a couple times that I thought about changing career paths, but never did, just because of the joy and the satisfaction that you get from serving the community that you live in. And so that was the path I took and the path that I want to continue to take.
Lora, same question. What first drew you to public service?
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. Well, I grew up in a family on the south side of Chicago in the suburbs, and my dad's a veteran. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and we didn't have a lot of opportunity. But my parents always had taught me, Catholic upbringing, be a good human and serve the public. So basically, my whole career has just been in the not-for-profit sector. I haven't ever had a job that hasn't been about serving people. So in my current role, at Delta Dental of Illinois. I'm the director of our foundation and its corporate social responsibility. So through that position, I really got to understand that people, I was grateful for what I had, and a lot of people were less fortunate than me and my family. So it just became part of my career, and this was just an extension of it. Making St. Charles the best place it could be as alderman, as an alderperson. That's why I chose to run, to just carry over, that whole focus on my life and even making things better for my children and other people's children. I don't know any other job.
Thank you.
Next, we'll touch on the Charlestown Mall and the redevelopment of that site. I know that's been one of the most sought after topics by residents for the last coming on a decade here. The question is this: assume money is no object and you have the support of the community. What is your ideal use of that site?
Sure. Well, I'll start. I think it's me, right, Kevin?
Your turn, yeah.
Yes. Well, I'll start with, 4 years of my administration. I've challenged everyone in our community to drive east to west and see the growth and economic development. And that, in fact, we have so much development happening. Fox Haven, the Springs is developed. We have Chick-fil-A, spurring the potential growth at Charleston Mall. You ask a good question, but that's a little tricky because we don't currently own the mall. And so there is another owner, and the question becomes, is money an object to them? What we've been doing, we continually work with the owner on finding solutions. Fortunately, I've had the opportunity to look at several different plans that haven't been a right fit for St. Charles, and talking with my predecessor, understanding that we do have two businesses in there right now bringing $250,000 sales tax revenue to our community. It's costing the current owner about $1.2 million to upkeep that property. So really right now, as it stands, if the question is, would the city buy the mall? I wouldn't support that at this point because of all the growth and development that's happening that would potentially spur something. And also because we know it's not costing our taxpayers anything. So we just met with them and did a walkthrough of the mall, the one owner last week, to walk through the space. We are working with them. They are developing a plan. To get to your final question, though, I think for the city of St. Charles, knowing that what we've done in my 4 years under my administration with adding some of the restaurants to come in Fox Haven, I think we're looking for something that would add some residents because we want our businesses to be successful. We've been in contact with the fitness center in the past, and that still stands as an option. But I think you'll see some mixed use, all in all, creating some little form of an East Side Piazza Plaza type configuration to really complement Fox Haven Square that's going to be developed this year.
Excellent. Clint, same question.
Well, I love it when we get to say that money is not an option. So ultimately, there's a couple things that we have to go into it. I agree that because of where that's at and where we are commercially, it's not going to become an indoor mall again. We know that. The question is then what can be developed and what will the market allow to be developed there in order to best suit our community? And so when you look at all the plans, I mean, it's been 8 years. I mean, the mayor knows that. She's been on the council for 4 years. She's been the mayor for 4 years, and we're here and we still haven't gotten it done. I've heard her say, that she's an impatient person. And while I understand that we have to wait, or you have to wait, at some point you have to take action, and we haven't. So I think that I would agree with her that what the plans that have been discussed are mixed use, residential with commercial. It's an opportunity, but again, it's what will the market bear and what will the market be? When she says that it hasn't cost our taxpayers anything, I know that the current owner is spending about 1.5 million a year to take care of it, but at the same time, as you continue to watch, it becomes more and more of an eyesore, no matter how much money he puts in. And again, when we say, well, it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything, we're losing tax revenue, and we have been losing tax revenue the entire time. Ultimately, what we have to understand is there's no magic solution. I mean, I really wish, David, it was a situation where we had unlimited money and we could control it. We don't. But what we have done is we've let it go on. We've had developers like Urban Street who have done Motorola properties and great things, who came in, tried to get something done and left. And I really still don't know why. I'm sure that the mayor or the city council knows. It just hasn't been something that's been shared with residents. But at the end of the day, uh, it's been 8 years. The citizens, we need to develop that, like surrounding communities have developed theirs. And I think at this point in time, there needs to be new leadership to get the project over the finish line. Again, not an easy project, but after 8 years, we need to get it done.
Thank you.
We'll switch tack to another big topic in town, the dam. Both of you have said that you're for keeping the dam and the St. Charles Dam. Why is it an important part of the city's future? Clint, you can go first on this one.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and Kevin, you're right. And I think the mayor and I have both talked about the fact that when we're talking to people, the dam, it's been such an important part of our community, starting with, you look at the old pictures of the municipal building, the pictures of Hotel Baker, and the dam is prominently displayed in all of that. It's such a rich part of our history that people feel very strongly, as do I, about making sure that we keep that. When you also look at how important the riverfront is to our community, it's one of the things that makes St. Charles so special, and we want the residents to continue to be able to access that, not only walk it, run it, bike it, but to take advantage of what the dam and what the river holds for our community. It draws people. It draws people to our downtown. It draws people to our restaurants. And so when we talk about the future of the dam, the reason it's so important to me to keep it is because it has provided all of that to St. Charles, and it can continue to provide that in the future. Now, the issue is, what opportunities are there? How do we utilize? Are there modifications? I've been going to the River Corridor Foundation meetings for a number of months. They have some really exciting ideas, and they have had ideas in the past on how to potentially modify the dam so that we don't change the water level, but we do have recreational opportunities and economic opportunities to capitalize on that. And so as we move forward, I don't want to see the dam taken down unless I've said on my website, unless it was cost prohibitive, which I don't think it is, or there's a safety issue. I'd like to see it remain as is, or if we modify it, just to make sure that that water level continues so that we can continue to take advantage of it as we have had for decades. So thank you.
Thank you. Laura, same question?
Yes, thank you. As mayor, to say that it's, I want it or I don't want it, is not the role of mayor, and I don't necessarily get to decide this. Publicly, I have stated, after consult with my entire city council, when we first heard about the Army Corps of Engineers project, I have stated that, along with my city council, we believe that the dam and currently the activity on the river is what makes St. Charles so special. That is totally accurate. It is special. I know we see it in many photographs about how wonderful it is. And a lot of it has to do with the activity on the river. As mayor, though, it's my job to lead our city council and to make sure we have all the information. So technically, to say that we wouldn't remove it, and that's my personal stance, is irresponsible of a mayor. You have to assess all the information. And that's my duty, even if it is unpopular. So we are currently joining the Park District, the dam task force we created, which was under my administration, to involve intergovernmentally an other entity that has revenue and has activity along the river, to get some more information, not just the environmental data, but to gather information about the recreational components, what the revenue looks like, what people's property values are, safety concerns aside of what was just prepared in the Army Corps of Engineers report. And it's been interesting because I believe, because of the community's impact in terms of their voices and this dam task force we created, it did push the Army Corps of Engineers to move that report, to look for some more information and to move the deadline. Again, we don't own the mall or We don't own the dam. So we're not exactly sure what that means liability wise. So all these things are of huge concern because it is very special, but we have to make sure that we're assessing all information so that we're making the right decision for our community.
Thank you.
Excellent. Another one of the big concerns is energy contracts and the current consideration of extending IMEA's contract. What is an important quality for an energy provider to have, either to the city or to residents? What is most important to them? Is it the quantity? Is it affordability? Is it reliability? Sustainability? Please, this one starts with you, Ms. Mayor.
Yes. Well, you kind of answered your own question. All of those things, if we ask a resident, they'll tell you all of those things are important. Affordability, having the lights on is probably the most important thing to many, many residents. There are many residents as well that care about, clean energy. I've said that our city, my stance has been, we are, of course, 100%. I wish we had 100% of resources being renewable energy. That is not exactly the case right now. It isn't available. So I think what's important for our community is that, we're able to provide energy at a very cost-effective rate. We're able to keep businesses and residents' lights on, and we're able to continue to move the renewable energy sources, increase them in the city of St. Charles. There's a lot more to go into this answer, I know, and you only asked what's important to people, but I think, we're working with other communities in the current contract we have, and Naperville currently has a consultant they're working with. My staff and me and some of my aldermen are in contact with those communities like Naperville to find out what information comes from that consultant. Of course, we're not having to pay for it, which is great. We're able to share in the data resource there to find out what comes of that report. And we're really watching that. What we don't want to do is be in a situation for our community where prices of utilities go up, where we're not able to keep power and keep our businesses running. But we know that we have to be conscious of all those things before we make a decision, and that's what we're currently doing.
Thank you, Mayor. Clint, same question. What's most important both to residents and to the city as a provider?
Well, I would start by saying, as the mayor and I have participated in these different forums, there are things that we agree upon. And so, that's always a good thing. When you sit there and you hear and you talk about different issues, and as she had said, ultimately you answered your own question when you talked about affordability. It has to be affordable, it has to be sustainable, it has to be reliable. But for me, it goes back to affordability. One of the things that, again, is when I'm going around St. Charles, I've been here my whole life. My parents' friends are talking about the issues that they're struggling financially to be able to stay in St. Charles. And so, when we're talking about power, what we want to see is affordable power. We want to make sure that our rates don't go up. We want to make sure that we're able to continue to give them the ability to stay here. And part of that is affordable energy. Now, when we talk about the contract itself, IMEA, we have a contract through 2035. As you've reported, IMEA decided that they wanted not only St. Charles, but Winnetka and Naperville and all the other municipalities to decide whether to renew that contract by April 30th of this year. That was just an arbitrary decision by them, and we don't have to follow that, and we shouldn't follow that. What we need to do is we need to do the due diligence. We need to understand what our power needs are moving forward, not only for our residents, but also for our businesses. There's opportunities on the East Gateway for different businesses to come in, but we're going to have to be able to supply them with power. And also, again, the renewable part of it is huge. We want to try to derive as much of our power from renewables as we can, but we need to understand what it is that we can get, what is it that we can provide, and how we should go about that. So going and circling all the way back, it's really hard to pick one, but affordability is definitely an issue there. But all three things are really, really important to the community of St. Charles.
Thanks, Clint.
Thank you. Switching gears a little bit, the Equity and Conclusion Commission is turning 2 in a few months, 2 years old. What do you see the future of that commission, given the recent widespread hostility toward DEI that we're seeing?
Yeah.
Clint, if you want to go first.
Yeah. I think that the Equity and Inclusion Commission is a fantastic commission. I've attended probably 5 or 6 of their meetings over the course of the last year. And as you had said, I've watched them from the beginning. I've been going to city council meetings for the last 15, 16 months. I've been going to the different commission meetings, including equity and inclusion. I've watched as they've started to kind of shape their path and figure out what it is that they want to do. They just recently appeared in front of the city council to give an update. And then a member, Trudy Nickel, came in front and talked about how important it was when we're talking about the physically challenged population and what they face in St. Charles. And so when I look at the commission and I look at the work that they've done, I think it's fantastic. I think what we have to remember about what's going on the federal level is that that's at the federal level. And we've talked about how important local politics is, or local government, more importantly, local government is. And this is a perfect example of a commission that's doing great work, and that we want to continue to see them doing their great work and to look forward to the future and what they can bring. So just because something's happened on the federal level doesn't mean that we have to let that impact us on the local level. And one of the things that I just brought up recently is, one of the things that commission has been looking at is the aging population. And I think that what we need to do is we need to work with the city council to create another commission, and that would be a senior commission. That wouldn't replace equity and inclusion, but I think that that issue is such an important issue that just like we have a youth commission, we should have a senior commission where we're focusing on the needs of our seniors. So circling back, I think that the work that the Equity and Inclusion Commission is doing is great work. And if I was elected mayor, I would look forward to working with them in the future.
Thank you. Laura, same question?
Sure. So I've, as mayor and as alderperson, as youth commissioner, I've been attending meetings and commission meetings for over 10 years. And obviously, as you know, you mentioned 2 years old. This was something that was really important to my administration. So it's something that's come out of my administration, the E&I Commission. We have such wonderful people. I was part of the selection process on who is appointed to that commission. As Clint does mention, the commission separated into subcommittees, and they were doing a lot of work. Some of it had to do with ADA accessibility. So things like the group assessed all of our buildings and made sure that, people with hearing impairments and vision impairments were able to be at a meeting and participate in a meeting. And those are the things they're assessing and have continued to assess so that we then can make changes and make augmentations to our building. Seniors is another topic that they have been talking about. So they were determining on whether or not they should potentially make this a subgroup. What's likely coming out of that is their recommendation to potentially make a seniors commission at some level and form. And I think what's important to understand about the Equity Inclusion Commission too is that, the ADA accessibility, topics of seniors, even topics about mental health, that we have a mental health commission, but they also discuss that at Equity Inclusion. Out of this commission does come recommendations on what other commissions could be developed. What are the things the city could be doing? So I'm extremely proud of my administration's work and those volunteers on that commission, because I think they've continued to work to make St. Charles a better place. So I anticipate this commission continuing and to continue down the path of doing that great work. And as I mentioned, I'm just proud of it being within my administration.
Thank you.
Next, how important is affordable housing and diverse types of housing?
I think that goes to me, right, David?
Yep, that starts with you, Mayor.
Attainable housing is extremely important, and so is diverse housing. So if we talk about diverse housing, in my administration, we did develop the Springs, which is an apartment complex. As an alder person, we did develop Prairie Winds, another apartment complex. And also we've had several senior affordable housing developments come in under my 8 years. And those are extremely important, especially the senior affordable housing component. What this does when we develop other forms of housing is it opens up housing stock in like single family homes so that people can move here, and eventually it will impact pricing. We know that there are opportunities to do better with attainable housing. We've been working with developers. We have a housing commission. there are not that many housing commissions. I think I'm aware of Naperville's. There aren't that many housing commissions in the state of Illinois, and I'm proud that we have one. They've been working hard to figure out what to do with the funds in that housing trust to better utilize them for families in our community. So it's one thing to say, and be conscious of attainable housing and creating, again, you don't want to silo that. You want to have opportunities for people to get attainable housing within the community, all over the community, not in a silo. But I think that, with that, we have to look at and address other things like affordability of groceries and transportation and, even children participating in their sports that they want to throughout the school system. There are a lot of components to that in living in St. Charles. So I can say that, there's several council members that are very passionate about this. I am too. Right now, this situation in the economy is a rough one, so it's hard to tackle this in a situation like this, but we are looking at it and we're continuing to look at ways that we can better use our Housing Commission Fund and identify attainable housing opportunities.
Clint?
Yeah, David, again, I think affordable housing is very important, and to have it sprinkled throughout the community is also important. I think that the two issues that I keep hearing, well, three different. One is seniors. One is I have four kids in their 20s that want to live in St. Charles but can't find a place to live in St. Charles. And then also, people who work for the city and work in jobs in the city, they want to live in the city, and we want them to live in the city. But if they can't afford it, we don't gain that advantage of having a workforce that lives right here, pays taxes here, uses our businesses here. I think that the one frustration is just the fact that when housing or developers come in and they have new projects, the ordinance, which is an ordinance that's common all across the state, but they can choose to pay cash that goes into the fund that the mayor was talking about instead of providing housing itself. And what I've seen over and over and over again is the fact that the developers choose the cash in lieu of, and it goes into that fund, and that fund just has continued to sit. Now, the money, there's more and more money in there, but at the end of the day, that doesn't solve the issue of bringing people in and providing affordable housing. So it's a priority. It needs to remain a priority. But what we have to do is stop talking about it, which has been happening for a long time, and figure out ways to actually execute it. Probably harder, it's easier to say than to do. But again, it's one of those things where if the council makes it a priority and decides that it needs to get done, I know it'll get done. So thank you.
That was going to be sort of a follow-up question, is pricing people out of the community a concern? And if so, how can that be addressed? Clint, you got to touch on it a little bit. If you want to say a few more things about it, go ahead, or we can.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I don't have much more to say other than affordability is key. Economics and the economic condition obviously plays into that. So I don't really have much more to say to it other than it's just, it's one of those things that as we have a different economy and we have more challenges, it becomes more challenging to stay and reside in the community. I just think one of the things that I really want to emphasize is, I think that when we have city workers who are working for the city, not only the city, but the park district, the school district, we want those people to be able to live in St. Charles. There's a huge benefit when the person that's working for the city goes home to 10th Street or 14th Street or wherever they may go. And so it's just needs to always be something that's on our mind to try to be able to make sure that that's something that they have an option of. So thanks.
And Mayor, is pricing people out a concern? And if so, how do you prioritize that and what can be done?
Yes, I mean, I think the only thing I'll add there, because I sort of touched on a little bit when I mentioned that, we've added some residential developments, and those are extremely important so that it can alleviate some of these pricing out issues, is making more opportunities for people to live. So that means more places for people to live. Could potentially impact pricing and allow it to go down. The economy is in a rough spot right now, but that's what we're continuing to do, is looking for ways that we can make it more affordable. And so, yes, to answer your question, pricing people out of the community is something, I'm very aware of, because, even my current home is getting more expensive. And if I tried to purchase it now, it would be very difficult for me to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got just a few minutes left, so I want to give you guys a chance to make some closing arguments, or it's not a trial, closing comments. Um, Laura, since to start off, I'm going to let Clint go first on this one, if you're okay with that.
Yes,
I know we're a little out
absolutely.
of order. It wasn't as symmetrical as I thought it would be, but
Not worried about it. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely fine. So first, I just want to thank you, Kevin and David, for giving us the opportunity. It's always great to talk St. Charles and to talk about the issues that are impacting St. Charles. As I alluded to a little bit earlier, I was reading an article where they talked about, during an election, it's a job interview, and ultimately, it's the citizens of St. Charles that have an opportunity to decide who it is that they want to lead the city of St. Charles for the next 4 years. Um, I'm going to focus really on three things as to why I'm that person. First, there's an opportunity to hire someone or to elect somebody that comes in with a unique skill set. And when I say that unique skill set, I'm coming in with 30 years of experience in the public sector. When I was the chief judge, my full time job was to manage and to lead an organization that served 550,000 people. And so not only do I have that experience, but I have the experience of being the highest non elected position at the state's attorney's office, being on the park board, and building teams that have continued to elevate those organizations that I've been a part of. The second part is that when I talk about teams, um, the job of the mayor doesn't vote unless there's a tie. So ultimately, the job of the mayor is to work with all 10 alderpersons to make sure that you are working with those individuals to build consensus and to do things that help them make decisions that are in the best interests of the city of St. Charles. And so when I come to this position with 30 years of experience, that's 30 years of working and building teams and being part of teams where I've been able to do that and then to provide and do great things for the different organizations that I've been a part of. And the last thing that I think is really, really important is just when I look at the motivation, I love St. Charles. I know that we talk about loving St. Charles. There's a lot of things to love about St. Charles, but I've loved St. Charles my entire life. I've been serving this community, not because there's an obligation, because I just want to support the people and the organizations that are a part of it. One of the greatest honors I've received was when I was awarded the Charlemagne Award by the St. Charles Chamber of Commerce, and that was something that was given to one person a year. And it wasn't so much that it was an award, but it was about what it signified, which was service to the St. Charles community and a lifetime of service to St. Charles community. And when I look at what I want to do, I look at the park district, the school work I've done with the schools, the work that I've done in the courts. I'm just getting started. I can't wait to work with the city council and with our residents and our businesses to make St. Charles the best city in the state of Illinois. So thanks again for giving me the opportunity. Really, really appreciate it.
hey, Clint. Laura?
Thank you, Kevin and David, for having us here today. As I mentioned in my intro, I have 25 years experience in the not-for-profit and business sectors. I've been able to carry over those skills into my position as mayor and as alderperson. I say it now all the time, experience in the municipal government does matter in this role. Every mayor that is currently here, Norris, Klinkhammer, DeWitt, Rogina, and I have all been an alderperson before serving as mayor. That is extremely integral experience to being a mayor. It has been my honor to be the mayor for the last 4 years, and our city is definitely thriving. Under my administration, we've reduced debt by nearly $20 million. Our downtown occupancy rate is at 95%, which is unheard of in other communities. 97% occupancy in industrial business sector. Having a clear vision and really clearly expressing policy platforms and getting the work done, which we've been doing under my administration, I think is foundational to this role. My guiding principle is putting the city first, and I've done that and continue to do that, and will continue to do that as your mayor. So again, experience does matter. I'm extremely excited and energized by this role. We've been doing great as a city, and when I go door to door and I ask people if they're currently happy here, I get a resounding, yes, I'm happy with St. Charles. Why change? Things are great. So with that, I would just ask for your vote Friday or March 7th or before and on April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you coming out here and taking your time out of your day to talk to us. Um,
Thank
take
you.
care.